President Obama, are you listening?
All right, so where did all the money go? The answers to what contributed to most of the swelling of the U.S. budget deficit, it may not be as obvious as you think. Senior economics reporter Steve Leisman went on an expedition to try and find some answers, and here he is with what he found.
Yeah, interesting work, I think, Becky. Two poor bond auctions this week have highlighted growing concern on Wall Street and indeed throughout the nation over the deficit. So we worked with the Congressional Budget Office to try to answer the question. Is all the hand-wringing about the deficit because Wall Street and the American public just woke up to the problem? Or has there been a meaningful change in the outlook for the nation's finances? What we found, the 10-year outlook for the deficit has taken a rapid and historic turn for the worse in just 2 years. What was projected by the CBO to be a $247 billion surplus over the 10-year period before the recession began, this is from 2009 through 2018, deteriorated markedly in 2009 to a $4 trillion deficit and is now projected to be a $7.4 trillion deficit. That makes for a whopping $7.7 trillion turnaround in just 2 years. Let's put it another way. Every man, woman, and child in this country has taken on an extra $25,000 in debt in addition to what he or she already owed. But how did it happen? Was it because of spending by Bush or Obama, or was it the economy? And the answer we found, there's blame enough to go around, blame enough in the trillions. According to our work with the CBO, 57% of the increase of the deficit from 2009 through 2000, from the projection in 2008 through 2010 is the result of a decline in revenues, of which the vast majority is because of the CBO's outlook for the economy. A huge part of the revenue change, Social Security. Over the 10-year period looked at by CNBC, it was supposed to show a $2.3 trillion surplus. Now the surplus, if there is one at all, is supposed to be just over $1 trillion. The stimulus bill, a change in accounting for the war, more interest on the debt, extended unemployment benefits, all of it adds up on the spending side to account for the deterioration there. Fed Chairman Ben Bernanke highlighted the nation's deficit troubles in his testimony yesterday.
I have to make some tough decisions. There's this tendency that nobody wants to cut and nobody wants to raise taxes. I mean, at some point, we're going to have to take some unattractive and tough decisions.
The takeaway, the change in the deficit outlook has been fast and dramatic. One upside, though, is it shows the sensitivity of the budget to the economy, and an economic turnaround will solve part of our fiscal problems, but not all of it, not by $1 trillion long shot. Guys?
You know, the CBO can say, okay, it's because the revenues aren't where we thought, but isn't it garbage in, garbage out at some point, where if we start getting to the point where we think these revenues and the good times are going to continue to roll for forever? I mean, that's part of the problem, and states are facing the same problem around the country, too.
You're right, Becky. A huge part of the problem was that they had one projection for the economy over the 10-year period back in 2008. That projection now is back in 2010. They can only use their best guess, and they do provide, by the way, a lot of detail in their forecast for what their economic projections are. I think they're a little bit more pessimistic than the street, but not a lot.
But if you look at California, the huge problem with California is it's a real boom and bust type of place.
It is.
And every time it booms, they start spending all the money they're bringing in. They're not saving for a rainy day.
And the problem is there are these things we call pro-cyclical aspects to the budget and the budget deficit, right? So that when things deteriorate, unemployment payments go up, Social Security revenue goes down, and you're into this whole cyclical thing.
It's going to pay out more than it takes.
Exactly, and everything just gets worse over time. I think what's important about this, though, is to look at what the real sources are. Some of this we have to deal with, and some of it is going to deal with itself. And this helps to focus, I think, on where the problems are that we can actually solve.
We got to go. We got to go. I'm sorry. You said it to me 100 times.
Oh, sorry. No, I heard it just the last time.
Oh, yeah, okay.
It's kind of hard to blame the CBO for not knowing there's going to be a war, though.
No. And let me just take let me just take 1 second and thank the guys at the CBO for the great work they did working with us on this. They took about 50 calls from us as we tried to get to the bottom of this.